World events are pretty scary these days with the war going on in Ukraine. We're getting a lot of questions from clients about this. How does the war in Ukraine affect your money? That's what I'm thinking about this week. It's really interesting as we take a look at the horrible things going on over there. A lot of scary things. It's a big deal on any number of levels. Of course, we focus on how do we think about money and your finances and financial security, those sorts of things. And from that lens, one of the things that we always talk about and refer back to is having perspective. Like, how do we think about this stuff? How do we interpret? What should we do about this? And one great tool I wanted to share here was that Vanguard came out with and did a study. They looked back at 22 different geopolitical events going back to 1956. We'll show a little slide here of the summary of research that they did. And what they looked at is what happened in the immediate term, in the short term, and that short-term definition varies depending on the event. What happened? The markets went down, and this is S&P 500, mostly S&P 500, a little bit of Dow Jones going back before, I think, 1960. Initial in that sort of orangish area downturn, and then the lighter green color, what happened in the next 6 months, what happened in the next year. And so they did 22, they looked at 22 things. They had cherry picked, I think, 8 of them here. And you can see the details. We'll post this in the show notes. You can see the details on the other events down at the bottom of the slide and the fine print there. But if you take a look at this, of course, most of the examples that we're looking at here, 6 months later, a year later, some pretty good returns, something between 5 and 10% over the next year is what has happened, right? Does that mean that that's what's going to happen now? Absolutely not. Does it mean everything's going to be okay right now? Of course not. We don't know what's going to happen. Take a look at those things in the mid-70s, right? When the Nixon impeachment, things went way down. Back then, there was some concerns with oil and inflation, as we might remember, right? Are we in the same situation now? I don't know. So maybe it looks at like that. But skip forward a little bit to the ones they have 2 in 1979, both the Russian invasion of Afghanistan there and the U.S.-Iranian hostage crisis. But anyway, take a look, 1979, bad initial reaction, pretty good couple of years. There was some pretty high inflation, as some of us might remember, back in 1979, 1980, higher than what was going on back in the early 70s. Maybe it looks like that. We don't know, of course. And again, the answer is not like to tell us what's going to happen in the future, but to give some perspective on how do we think about this stuff. Like, of course it's concerning, but it's not the financial concerns, right? You go, okay, no, this is not the first time this has happened. We've seen not the same story, but something similar to this. And I think it's useful just to say just to see what's happened in the past and think about how we might have felt at the beginning of these various events going back. And it helps me anyway to give perspective on, we don't need to be reactive necessarily to this. Pay attention, be smart, make it fit into our own plans, right? Make sure that it fits your goals with things, but not necessarily take action. And that's what I'm thinking this week. So let me know what you're thinking about things. Put your comments down, drop it in the comment box if you're watching this on YouTube, or send us an email directly. We'll post our email information, and interested in hearing what you're thinking, and let us know if you have ideas or questions for future episodes.